Welcome to Nitpicking Nerds, and with Dominaria spoilers finally out, we're doing the set review.
It's every Commander-relevant card from Dominaria United.
I'm your host, Joe Cherries.
I'm your host, BZ, and that makes us the Nitpicking Nerds. We got new videos every single day, brought to you in part by the people scrolling on screen right now, our patrons. If you want to join them, we'll love you as much as we can without making you uncomfortable.
Yes, that is how you support us directly. If you'd like to support us indirectly, first off, tcgplayer.com. Go there, buy the magic cards you were going to buy anyway at the exact same price you would buy them for. And as long as you start with our link, you're supporting the Nitpicking Nerds. Same is true for Dragon Shields, which has the best sleeves in the multiverse.
Good sleeves.
They're on every single one of our decks, and we suggest you put every single one of your decks in them. There's an EU and a US link in the description below. And if you want some swag, like these awesome shirts, join the Daisy Gang. The Daisy Gang, by getting a shirt on IntoTheAM, using our link, getting 10% off, and supporting the nerds.
I don't have a Daisy Gang shirt, but if I wanted one, I would get 10% off with our link.
You need a Daisy Gang
I
shirt.
want one, so I'll have to get one.
Yeah, you need one.
Boxfield sponsors this entire channel, and there's going to be an ad somewhere. Fair warning. Can you predict where it is? No, you can't, but I'm welcoming you to try. And happy birthday, as a little positivity to end things off. Happy birthday to everyone's birthday is today. What are we doing, Joe?
We're doing a set review. That means we're taking all the cards that we think are relevant. Now, there will be cards missing from here that you might think are relevant in Commander. That's going to happen. Not everyone has the same opinion of what cards are relevant in Commander, so we're taking all the ones we think have some relevancy or that we think people are talking about and want to chat about, and we're talking about in this video. We're grading them A through F. So I want to go over these real quick. A, great cards, need almost no building around at all. They're amazing in the format. We give out very few A's. Once in a while, you'll see an A. B's, these are amazing cards, but you need some synergy with them. They're awesome. They're all going to be super strong, but make sure they're within the right decks. C's, good cards, but not great cards. You're not going to have a ton of C's in your deck, but most decks will play at least a couple C's, and with a lot of synergy, C's tend to get a lot better. D's, these are the cards that we tend to avoid. They will have homes in specific decks, on budgets, under certain restrictions, but in your deck where you don't have any restrictions, you might not play these cards most of the time. And F's are cards we're going to avoid in almost all cases other than building with your trade binder.
Yes, these are like the lower the grade, the kind of the worse it is by itself, right? Like you're going to need a lot more synergy to make this thing work, and as a result, it's probably a worse card, and less decks are going to want to build around it.
Final note, D- through A+ are all cards that have homes within the Commander format and are playable. So if your favorite card has a D-, that doesn't mean it's the worst card ever. It means you need a good reason to play it. All right, usually we start with white, but today we have a colorless card from the set, and it's Karn, Living Legacy. 4 mana for a 4 loyalty Karn Planeswalker. You +1 to make a Power Stone token. These can tap for mana, but you can't use it to cast non-artifact spells. -1, you could pay any amount of mana to look at the top X cards, where X is the amount of mana you paid, and put one of them into your hand. And -7, your artifacts tap to ping things. This card is a little unfortunate. It takes a long time to ult, and it really doesn't do too much. Not being able to cast your normal spells in a completely colorless deck, this kind of ramps you and starts to do something. But it's still rough. The minus requiring mana to be put in, we don't want to put more mana into our Planeswalkers. The whole point of a Planeswalker is you're done. You put a base amount in, and it's done. I don't want to put more mana into Karn. As soon as I put more mana into Karn, I don't like this card.
Yeah, they kept it pretty safe with this one. I kind of thought it would be really cool if it made those, Power Stone Shard tokens, where like they tap for colorless equal to the number you have of them. That would have been kind of cool. There's a lot of things that make this cooler. I just think it's bad, and we can probably move on.
Yeah, it is. We got to give it a grade, though.
F.
Yeah, F.
I just would never play this. I don't even know how I would get to play this.
The only chance in the world is a colorless deck. I mean, that's the only chance this card has, I think, and even then, colorless cards are pretty powerful.
Yeah, like I was thinking like I could try it in Brutaclad, but it might make a token or two and then die, and that's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's not very good.
Yeah. Let's go to Anointed Peacekeeper, which isn't much better. It's 2 and white for a 3/3 Vigilance. Enters the battlefield looking at an opponent's hand, then choose any card name, and the casting and abilities of that card cost 2 more. This is like just nothing. These cards always come out, and they're just totally designed for 1v1 formats where you can actually disrupt them, and 2 mana is more meaningful, and you can actually maybe stop some things in scenarios. This just isn't going to do anything. You won't even get a card out of it.
Yeah, this speaks to what we think about Nevermore effects, pretty much any one of them. Whether it says you can't cast it or it costs more to cast, these kind of effects just are too narrow and they don't hit enough. You can annoy somebody with a commander with an activated ability. It'd be really annoying, but it's just not good enough. Overall, just not going to pull its weight.
You have to put this in your deck. Like if somebody has a Thrasios, yeah, this is pretty annoying for them. But you're putting this card in your deck knowing that like someone's going to show up with Thrasios every game? I don't see it, and we're not going to play it.
Yep. Next is, well, that last card was an F. F, it's on the screen.
I think I said that.
I don't know if you did. But
$10 goes to my bank account if I did.
We'll see. Benelish Sleeper is next. 1 in the white for a 3/1 creature, Phyrexian Human Soldier. Nice, it's a Phyrexian. And it has kicker for a black, and when it enters, if it was kicked, each player sacrifices a creature. This effect is just good. It's not over the top, powerful. It's not the best version of it at all. But I think, I haven't seen a bad version of this. And yeah, this only goes in black-white decks. But if you care about Phyrexian Human or Soldier, and your deck is somehow made that way, then it's a fine version of it, right? C-, it's totally passable.
Just feels like bread and butter. There's 85 versions of it. This might be the best one for you. So keep an eye out and don't play it in mono white.
You gotta find. You can't play it in mono white. Yeah, that's true because it is a black-white card.
Mm-hmm. Let's go to Defiler of Faith. This is a whole cycle, and they're all pretty sweet. 3 white for a 5/5 vigilance. I don't know if we can maybe sum these up. Your white spells that are permanents, you can pay a Phyrexian instead of 1 of the white mana. So if it's 3 and a white, you can pay 3 mana and 2 life instead. And whenever you cast a white permanent spell, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. Now, a lot of these they all only reduce by 1 pip, and that's the power of that second ability varies wildly depending on what color you're in.
Yeah, all these Defiler cycle is going to be monocolored decks. We're going to be talking about mostly for them, where you get a ton of huge ramp out of it by paying a little bit of extra life. Makes all your spells cost 1 less, especially if you're a huge permanent-based deck. This is going to be really annoying. And this one, if you have token synergies in your mono white deck, yes, please, this card's great.
Yeah, a lot of these depend on how many, let's say for this one, white cards in your deck. Like one white mana, like Esper Sentinel. There's a lot of those in mono whites. You can play this and then deploy like 3 mana worth of spells, get cast triggers, get ETBs, and just like save a bunch of tempo. So this one I think is probably one of the better ones. We're going to give it like a B+, right?
Yeah, all of them have the exact same text except for a different color. So like you said, it comes down to what they're doing. On the bottom part, this one specifically, very good.
Well, it comes down to what color you're in too.
Yeah, exactly. It's also it does matter what color you're in, but what the ability does, super good. Because like if you take the green one we're gonna get to and you put it on any color, it's amazing. So yeah, the white one here, very good. Making tokens is gonna be awesome. Up next is Knight of Dawn's Light. 1 in the white for a 2/2. It has first strike, and whenever you gain life, you gain that much life +1, and you can pump it for 1 in the white. I don't think it's great or crazy, but I thought it was worth mentioning. If you're playing a deck that incrementally gains 1 life over and over again, this can be a little annoying way to add up on that. If you're playing all the Soul Sisters, maybe throw this on top of it.
I can't think of too many other ones besides Cleric class, which is obviously like 10 times better than this. I can't think of other ways to really do that 1+, which is very similar to doubling if you're only gaining in increments of 1 anyway. It's like the hardened scales of life gain.
Yeah, I just think it's, like you said, D+. There's some decks that might want this, and I think budget life gain definitely might want this.
Yeah, very rarely you'll see this, but it won't be terrible when you do. Love Song of Night and Day will be terrible when you do see it. It's 2 in a white for a saga. It's got read ahead, so you can start at either chapters 1, 2, or 3, and whatever you skip won't be triggered. So the first one is you and target opponent each draw 2 cards. Womp womp. Next one is create a 1/1 bird with flying, and then the third one is put 2 counters on up to 2 creatures, so 1 and 1.
Yeah, I can't. The first ability is why I put this card even on this list. It was mostly something you wouldn't talk about for the other 2 abilities. Again, just to reiterate, something we've said in other videos, but I don't mind mentioning it again when these kind of things come up in sets. I think that all of these, you and target opponent draw X cards, or draw 3 cards, draw 2 cards, even draw 1 card wouldn't be that good.
Especially when it's the same number. You're down a card because you played this.
Yes, you need to draw an extra card for these to be worth it, because then
At least,
and then even then you're paying 3 mana for it, and your opponent is getting 2 cards for absolutely free. This is an F. I would suggest never playing this.
If it was like I drew 4 and an opponent drew 2, I would still only be up 1 card and down 3 mana. It's like, I don't know what needs to be on this card for me to feel good about it, but we're putting it at an F and moving on.
Yeah, I don't like these. Next, Resolute Reinforcements. 1 in the white for a 1/1 with flash, and when it enters, you make another 1/1 white soldier. I really like this card. It's very specific, and it's not going to go in a ton of decks, but I think it's a C-. I think that the spells versions are okay and fit in some lists when you kind of care about the types. This one, This is a creature. If you have creature synergies when you're casting creatures, all of that stuff, this is a permanent. Something even just from cards we've talked about right now. The Defiler that we talked about reduces this cost. It's already a synergy on top of this. Like, all those little things make this card so much better than, what is it?
Raise the Alarm?
Raise the Alarm, yes.
It's funny you mentioned that because those two actually go in the deck I was thinking of, which is there's a lot of cards that make tokens. You can basically do whatever you want. But this is like you can build now the creature-based token deck, and I think it's like really coming together, and you can get a lot of mileage out of it.
Yeah, I actually, when I built my, I built Jetmir, I built it creature-based tokens. That's what I did.
You got like Adeline now, all these different types, like Taurens, even just like creatures that tap and make tokens. We don't need to go into all of them, but...
Yeah, exactly. Next one, I love this card.
Sarah Paragon. I like this one too. This might be in our top 10. I'm not sure. 2 white for a 3/4 flyer. Once during each of your turns, you can play a land or cast a permanent spell with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard. If you do, it gains when it gets put into a graveyard, exiled, and you gain 2 life. Mostly, that's kind of whatever. You get to reuse things from the graveyard once per turn, and I really love the thought of if I'm going to miss a land drop, making it with this thing. My land's not going anywhere.
Yeah. Oh my God. This thing costs 4 mana. You can wait on it to make sure you play something from your graveyard. You can play it on like turn 6, or not turn 6, but when you have 6 mana, and then just go this into something from your graveyard to make sure you get the value. You can make sure you hit your land drop on turn when you have 4 mana out, and you don't have to play your land first. I love this card. And for extra synergies, for really no reason, you gain life, so throw it in your life gain deck. Like, if you need an excuse to play this in your life gain deck, you have it. It gains life for some reason.
Right, you can have it. It's not busted, but you can put it in a bunch of different decks, and I just think it's like at least a B, maybe B+.
Yeah, I think the B+. Yeah, I think this card is really, it's just super strong.
It makes me think of Verge Rangers, which let you play lands off the top of your library, but this is like 10 times better than that. I don't like really play that card ever, but I think I will play this card.
I think the thing about this card that makes it like super good is that you can just play fetch lands. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, just replay that fetch land, baby.
Like, then the land that you get won't have the weird clause, and you just gain 2 life and exile the fetch land.
Yeah, which is fine. It just goes away. But you just, even in a mono white deck, you put the Prismatic Vista and the 4 fetches.
I'm doing that.
It's 5 fetches. It's already, this card is great.
It's just extra lands that you wouldn't have had in the graveyard. It's perfect.
What's
next?
Yeah, up next, Urza assembles the Titans. 3, I love Titans go.
Titans go!
Had to say it.
I did. 3 white for a saga, and you can read ahead, which means you can start at any one of these. The first one is to scry 4, then reveal the top card of your library. If it's a Planeswalker, you put into your hand. Then you can put a Planeswalker with mana value 6 or less from your hand in the play. And then 3 is during this turn, you can activate loyalty abilities twice on your Planeswalkers.
There's like nothing there. This is like a nothing burger to me.
Yeah, I mean, first thing, you have to, in your Planeswalker deck, which we're not, you can probably play 20, 25 Planeswalkers. Having one of the top 4, not guaranteed.
We play like 15 to 20 in ours, and that's kind of still a lot.
It's not guaranteed. So you're not guaranteed to get that card draw. The next one is to cheat a little bit of mana. That's not bad, but it's not great. And the last one is you better have like 3 Planeswalkers out to get anything out of this.
Oh man, you can play around a little bit and get some stuff going. It's just not. I just don't think it's that good. I don't even think it's like an auto include for Planeswalker decks. Yeah. It's like sometimes.
I think it's a D+. I think it's totally passable. It'll do things and it'll be fine. I mean, Scry 4 is a lot, but it is 5-band investment. It is slow. Reading ahead on this doesn't feel really that great at all.
It puts out walkers with mana cost 6 or less, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're specifically saying that you can't put out like 7 Planeswalkers.
Yeah, which
there's very few that cost 7 or 8.
Karn, Ugin.
Right, it's like basically those and a couple nickel bosses.
Yep, yeah, those are the only ones you really.
Why not just give us all of them?
Yeah, it seems strange. That's actually a good point. Maybe there's something in standard interaction they don't want.
Can't remember. Let's go to Valiant Veteran. This is a part of a cycle too. It's Lords. 1 and a white for a 2/2. Other soldiers you control get +1/+1. It's a soldier. And you can pay 3 white and exile it from your graveyard to put a +1/+1 counter on all your soldiers. Obviously, these aren't like anything stellar game breaking. These are pretty much only going to go in the tribe that they are. And this is okay in the soldiers. I'd probably play it. It's cheap. It does things. It's basically a 2-for-1. You can't really have this out or in the graveyard and not have +1/+1.
Yeah, 2-mana lords are good. I mean, that's where you want your lord to be. One of the things about lords is they're all 3 mana. They're a little too clunky. They really got to give you something extra. Like I think of like Goblin War Chief.
Like I don't think I would play 2-mana lord, but this is like 2-mana lord plus.
I think of Goblin Chieftain. That's what I meant.
Yeah, that's
where you're getting the little extra. This thing, being a 2-mana lord and having a secondary ability is strong, super good. This one's obviously it's going to go in soldiers. This is one of the worst of the cycle, but it's still a B-.
Which says a lot.
Yeah, because this cycle's good.
There's some good cycles in this set.
Yeah, next, Wing Mantle Chaplain, 3 and a white for an 0/3. It's got Defender. When it enters, you make a 1/1 bird for each creature you control with Defender. And then whenever another Defender enters, you get a 1/1 bird. If you're playing exactly your Defenders deck, your Walls deck, your Arcades decks, you're playing exactly that, this card's actually pretty good. You're going to get a lot of tokens from this. I just gave it a C+, but it's very niche to what deck it goes in.
This card sets you up real good for like a tower defense. Like you actually have creatures that can connect, and then you give plus 0/5, which is basically +5/+5, and you just really kill people. I think this thing has some applications, and the fact that it has Defender obviously ties it all together. It'd be really weird if it didn't.
Yeah, exactly. This thing's going to be solid. It's exactly a Defender deck, but when you're playing Defenders, it'll be good.
Those exist. Sarah Redeemer is the Jumpstart white card. It's 3 white for a 2/4 flyer. Whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters under your control, you put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. First thing I think of with this card is persist cards.
I'm thinking this card's going to stay pretty budget. That's where I like it a lot. Is this can be your budget like what's the whenever a creature enters, they all get counters.
Oh, Kathar's Crusade?
It could be a budget version of Kathar's Crusade, and it kind of goes off with any persist creature, like you said.
Ooh, goes infinite with Basri's Acolyte.
Yeah, so this card is just pretty strong overall. It's not the best. I got it right middle of the road, like a C. Not every deck that's playing tokens and small creatures and wants counters is going to play this, but I can definitely see decks going to this some of the time.
I feel like this is going to be a really good card, but for decks that can't afford like the really broken cards.
I think that's fair. That's a good point.
Like I'll look at it, I'm like, man, that's really good, but only because you couldn't play the better cards. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. Sometimes you can't play the very best cards. Next, Historian's Boon. 3 and a white for an enchantment. Whenever it enters the battlefield or another non-token enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. And whenever the final chapter ability of a saga you control triggers, create a 4/4 angel token with flying and vigilance. I put this here because it's a saga payoff. People want to play that saga deck. I've heard people talk about it.
Is it there yet? Are we there?
It's slowly getting there. I mean, every set we get a card like this, it adds up a little bit better to something that can be playable.
We have a couple more like replenishes now. They printed like 4 more of those.
Yeah, so Historian's Boon, just solid C-. It's only ever. Don't put it outside of your exactly saga deck.
I feel like the absolute ceiling of this 6 months from now is C-, so I might give it like a D right now.
I still give it a C-. I think it'll always be about a C-. If sagas get really good, they can be a C.
All right, let's go to blue cards. Academy Lore Master. This is a weird design. Blue for a 2/3. At the beginning of each player's draw step, they can draw an additional card, but if they do, spells they cast this turn cost 2 more to cast. So I want to draw the extra card, but I don't want to get like hosed by the downside because that's pretty rough. I cast a lot of cheap spells, but what if most of your spells are instants and you're like a control deck? Well, then maybe you got a place for this.
That's exactly what I was thinking with this. When I gave it a C-, not too high of a grade, but I think if your deck is really playing in instant speeds, I'm thinking something like a Rashmi deck.
Or like Nimrus.
Or Nimrus. You can really just put this thing. Oh yeah, Nimrus is also a really good one. It'll prevent your opponents from taking this most of the time while letting you take it. It's a lot to pay. Most decks play on their turns. Now, every deck has some instants and sorceries, but not a ton. And every single spell that costs 2 more is like mind-boggling. That is 4 mana to cast 2 spells is way too much.
Yeah, it's cool because usually spells that give your opponents a choice aren't that great. You don't really want to do that. But this isn't really a choice. It's like this or nothing happens. It's not like it's positive or positive. It's just positive or nothing. And it's like sometimes they can't do it. And it's not all positive, but you know what I mean.
The important part of this is just make sure your deck plays. I want to play like 70% of my spells are going to be played at instant speed. That's what I want to be doing. As long as I can do that, this card is actually playable.
But you also control when you cast this, so you don't have to play it.
It is also tough because it does have it. Everyone else gets it first before you, and it has big downsides all over the place. But there is ways to make it good.
I don't know if I'd play this on turn 2, because then sometimes your opponents might just take a free card.
Yeah.
So maybe just save it for like turn 4 or 5.
Yeah,
this might be.
I'd wait a little bit. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Next, I really like this card. It looks very boring because it's Mana War, but it's actually Ether Channeler, and it's 2 and a blue for a 2/1, and when it enters the battlefield, return another target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, or draw a card, or you can create a 1/1 bird creature token with flying. I love this card. This is a Flicker deck only card, 100%. You want to be able to do this over and over again, but for some reason, this thing bounces non-land permanents. That is Huge upgrade over like Mana War.
Already.
That's already huge. And then you can just get a token if you need it or want it for whatever reason. And most of the time, you can just draw a card. This card is awesome. It replaces itself every single time, gets you some tempo, and then on top of that, it's a choice. You just choose what you need.
This fills into the neat little creatures. I hope they do a cycle of this because there's another 2-black 2/1 that enters the battlefield and gives you 3 options that are all pretty neat. The black one from Strixhaven.
Yeah.
The Callous Blood Mage.
Yeah, I don't like that one.
I think that one's cool too.
You're allowed to like it. That's fair.
Yeah, I am allowed to like it. This one, what do we got? Like a B? Just a solid role player. Going to see play in some Blink decks.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good Blink deck card, period.
Moving on to Defiler of Dreams. 3 blue for a 4/3 flying. It's got the same permanent reduction Phyrexian mana ability, so I'm not going to reread it. Whenever you cast a blue permanent spell, draw a card. The only problem with this being blue is the weakest color for the single blue pip spells that are permanents.
But it also has one of the best abilities.
Yeah.
Drawing is absolutely really, really strong. You cast a blue permanent spell, you draw a card. Okay, I'm 100% in for that. Again, like BZ said, weakness, blue doesn't have the best permanents. Rhystic Study, you're going to feel really good when Rhystic Study draws your card right away.
Well, Mystic Remora too.
Yeah, that's
like you can't play this and chain 3 things. It's probably not happening unless you're some weirdo, maybe like Yuriko type thing.
You can make it. You could certainly try and make some sort of special deck with this. I mean, again, all of the Defilers very good, especially in monocolor decks or 2-color decks leaning heavily toward 1 color.
I hope these are all budget, except I know the green one's not going to be, but I hope the rest of them are budget so that I can put them in $50 decks.
These rares are mythics. I'm looking.
They are rares.
I thought that's going to help them. That'll keep them down for sure.
Maybe $2 I could see.
Yeah, $5 for the green one.
Yeah, this is like an easy B-.
Yeah, B-. These are all going to be in the B Rangers. No chance to go below that. Up next, a card that I'm sure people are going to bring up in the comments, so I brought it up first. It's Urtai's Scorn, 1 blue for an instant. This spell costs 1 blue less to cast if 2 or more spells were cast this turn. Counter target spell. I hate these cards. I think anything that's cancel with slight upside is nothing. And hoping that 2 spells were cast, no, I'm out. I'm just F.
Or I could just play Counterspell, which isn't even the best 2-mana Counterspell in our opinion, so we're just so far removed from something we play. Even on a budget, I would just rather have negate Disdainful Stroke.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah,
just
Counterspell. I mean, Counterspell's not even that expensive. It's a couple bucks.
Yeah, big fat F. Let's go to Haughty Djinn. Not the magic card I thought I'd have to read. 1 blue for a star 4. Flying, the star is the number of the instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard, and those spells cost 1 less to cast. Also, weirdest flavor text. I adore your outfit. It's so ... rustic. Someone please tell me what that means.
They're insulting you. I mean,
they're like a mean girl, like a high school student?
They're literally, that's what they're doing.
I don't get it. But this guy, aside from being a jerk, pretty good card.
Yeah, decreasing instant sorceries by 1 we know is a good ability. This is a little bit of a premium for its body, which we're not excited about, but this thing can also hit pretty hard.
The flying saves it.
It has flying. As you scale into the late game, this thing can be hitting for 10, 15 sometimes.
I like that it's like an instant sorcery payoff and an enabler to cast more instant sorceries, and plan C. If your plan goes weird, you can just beat somebody up.
Yeah, I just gave this card a C+. I think it's solid. It's not the best card in the world, but it is a role player in spell slinging decks.
You'll be seeing it in the Commander Cube, Nitpicking Nerds Commander Cube. You'll be seeing it there.
Yes, you will. Next, Micromancer, 3 and a blue for a 3/3. When enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an instant or sorcery with mana value 1. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. This card is a premium because they're trying to make sure it's not broken in any way, which is completely fair because these kind of cards tend to be really good. So
they up the cost.
They up the cost 4 mana to get a 1-drop. Just look at Spellseeker was busted because it was
3 mana for a 2-drop.
Yeah, or less.
Yeah.
This one is just get a 1-drop. Period. It's totally reasonable. I gave it a C-. It's not busted, not broken. It's not even. It might not even be good, but I think it's worth trying at least.
It's funny, I've already put it into a deck. I was brewing up a blue-red budget spells deck, I think maybe for Shuffle Scuffle or something, just for fun, and it's already in there. One thing I noticed, you can also get X spells with it. So maybe there's a few bigger, better things you can do. I kind of like it. Vandal Blast, Biforce, some kind of occult epiphanies in the deck. It's okay.
Nicholas X in a Pip, yeah.
Rapid Hybrid. It's well, there you go. You got a removal spell. You can also chain removal spells off of Displacer Kitten, which is cute.
Cool. Well, yeah, that's super interesting. I never even thought about that. But this card is totally playable. It's definitely worth trying. Next, BZ.
Yeah, I think this card's pretty good. It's Phasing of Zalfir, 2 blue for a saga with read ahead. Chapters 1 and 2 is you can phase out a non-land permanent for as long as this thing's on the battlefield. And then Chapter 3 is destroy all creatures Every creature gives its controller a 2/2 Phyrexian, and then obviously after this goes to the graveyard, your phased out things are back and they can attack and do whatever. I think it's pretty sweet, especially because you can just play it as Weirdo Damnation.
Okay, so it does leave a lot of creatures behind. And one of the things about board wipes that I always think about is you're looking to usually you're not advancing into your own boards, into your own board wipe, so you don't tend to have a lot of creatures. And then you play a board wipe, and then everyone's still left with a good amount of creatures, probably leaving you open. That's where I'm down on this card.
It depends on how many creatures were in play. The 2/2s are just going to run into each other. It's kind of like Awaken the Erstwhile, where like I'm not really worried about it. You could get beat up potentially, but especially the fact that your two best things, if you set this up for a few turns, your two best things are still in play.
That's fair. I just feel like when you set it up, that's when it's the weakest too. But you could be right about that. I'm pretty low on this card. I have it at C-. What would you give it?
I'd probably give it like I'm excited about it at C-. It's like another blue blue alternative board wipe that sometimes I'll play, which is cool to me.
Yeah, I'll play it in my deck that's playing the Blue Defiler.
Yeah, every time you're just going to phase out Eldritch Norn and then blow everything up and Eldritch Norn will phase back in every time.
No, I mean, if that happens every time, then the game's over.
Yeah, every time.
All right, next is our script seems to be a little out of order because for some reason Hazazon is the next card here. Oh, wait, that's a legend. We weren't going to talk about legends. But you know who spoiled that legend? Moxfield.com. That's right. The best deck building website in the world.
So good, Amber just woke up from whatever she was doing. Moxfield?
Moxfield is amazing. It is a deck building website. And on top of that, you can go there for your spoilers. If you want to see the full spoiler for Dominaria United, it is. All those cards are on Moxfield.com.
You don't have to have two tabs open. You don't have to go deck build and then, oh, what is this card? What's the new land cycle card? It's like, no. It's all on the same website.
Yeah, and as soon as a new legend is spoiled, if you want to build a deck, all you have to do is start building a deck. One little trick, because I always forget this, you have to click not legal commanders because they're not legal until pre-release.
They even have the ones that aren't legal yet.
Yeah, I mean, none of these cards are legal yet, and you can still build with them and put them in your deck because Moxfield is that dang good.
Just stay on the cutting edge with Moxfield.
Next is Silver Scrutiny, X blue for a sorcery. You may cast it as though it has flash. If X is 3 or less, draw X cards. This card's interesting. It is a strictly better Mind Spring, right?
And strictly better Jace's Ingenuity.
Yes, so what's good about this card and what I really like about it is that if you're going to be playing it early game, you just get to play it like an instant hold up counter magic and do all that. Or something else you could potentially even do, scaling into the late game, is turn this into a 5-mana draw 3 at instant speed and just hold it up with like 7 or 8 mana. And then, yeah, I didn't get to use my other thing I wanted to because people didn't play the spells I thought they were going to play. Now I'll cast this for 3. Sure, I'm taking a little bit of a loss, but I got to hold it up.
Yeah, I was looking at this card and I was pretty low on it up until really like 25 seconds ago. I wasn't going to give it a C, but now I am. I think, like when I think about, I want to cast it to draw 3, it's like, that's not very good. I would never play that card. But that's in addition to it's also Mind Spring. You can't do anything with Mind Spring, and I think that's a playable card. So this is just better in multiple ways, so we got to give it a C at least.
Yeah, it's definitely a C. It's a playable card, and I like it in your decks that want to hold up mana often. But sometimes it's versatile. That's what's cool about this card. Like you could look at it as this like 4-mana draw 2 or 5-mana draw 3 at instant speed, and that's how you play it most of the time. But then sometimes it can just be an X spell at sorcery speed when you need to draw like 10 cards.
Yeah, save your butt in the late game. Kind of like Seagate Restoration.
Yeah.
Let's go to Sphinx of the Clear Skies, which I think is also a C, but this is so much less fun to read and think about. It's 5-mana, 5/5, flying ward 2, domain. Wow, this is the wordiest thing ever. You're hitting a player, you get domain to Factor Fiction, but the piles initially are equal to the number of basic lands. So you could get the full 5-er, and they have to separate, and you get to pick one of the piles.
I originally was going to give this card a B because I thought it was an ETB, and I was really excited about it. I'm like, this card's good. I mean, you got to play 5 colors, but it's a good card.
Turns out
you have to attack with it. That makes this card a lot worse.
And hit.
Yeah, attack and hit. I'm a lot lower on this card now. It's still decent because it does have ward. It's a little sticky, but it's like a knocked in.
What about a 3-color deck? Would
I consider this?
Yeah. It draws like 1.5 cards when it hits.
It seems like I would play it in a 3-color deck on some sort of budget, I think.
Yeah, hopefully this being a mythic doesn't make it not budget because I think it'll see basically no play.
Yeah, I don't think you want to play this if it's like I would play this if again some sort of restriction is going to make me play this card.
Yeah, this was a $5 card. Ooh, worst possible spot for it. Maybe even a C-.
Yeah, C-. Let's give it a C-. It's all right. Next, Vesuvian Duplimancy. 3 and a blue for an enchantment. Whenever you cast a spell that targets only a single artifact or creature you control, create a token that's a copy of that artifact or creature, except it isn't legendary.
Could this be more specific?
I don't know, and that's the trouble with this card. I don't know what deck you're playing this is. Olvar?
Okay, yeah. Your comments have been quenched because quelled. Because now we've mentioned Orvar, so I have no idea where else this thing goes.
Yeah, it's a D+. It doesn't seem like it has many homes in Commander. Might be good in Orvar, might even be great in Orvar, but that's about it.
I think we were looking at Dak Faden years ago, his emblem, where it's like, oh, if I target anything, I gain control of it. And then we were just like, there's nothing in my deck that does that. I'm killing something if I'm targeting it. So it's just really weird.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem to. It doesn't seem like there's many decks in existence that would play this.
Even a heroic deck, it's like you're copying bad creatures then. This is so bizarre. Vodalian Hexcatcher, 1 and a blue for a 1/1 flash. Other merfolk you control get +1/+1. Sacrifice a merfolk. That's a free ability. Counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 1. Keeping them honest, this is going to really mess up the order your opponents play spells in, and then their opponent's ability to play spells at all.
Yeah, this card's just good. It's a nice B+. You can turn all your merfolks as you go wide into counter magic that is going to be super annoying for your opponents. You also don't even have to do it. Like, they can cast it thinking you're going to, and you won't do it some of the time. It's also a lord. We love that we're getting the pumps here with other upside. That's what we want.
It's kind of bonus on the other half of the card, which is a good card. This one, I think, is... I'm just thinking about it now. It's going to be even more backbreaking because what happens is the first time you play this, you're going to force spike a spell. You're countering a spell because this has flash. They won't even know.
Yep. Yeah. It's a flash counter spell that you can just sacrifice your worst merfolk. It makes card the deep water card that says when you play a merfolk, get a 1/1 merfolk. That makes that card like so much more playable.
Oh, you know what? It even makes that other merfolk that cares about like whenever you counter a spell, you get a merfolk or something.
Yep. Makes that one even better too.
Yeah, watch out.
Yeah. Next, Cosmic Epiphany. 4 blue for a sorcery, draw a card equal to the number of instant sorceries in your graveyard. I gave this one a C-, but it can draw a lot of cards. It has super high potential, but at the same time, it also has the opposite problem where if your graveyard gets exiled, this card does nothing.
Yeah, it's not like the ceiling isn't as low as that other card that's like draw a card for each card type in your graveyard. It's like, I don't care about that. This ceiling is like there isn't really one. The ceiling might be 60 because that's the most you can play. I still don't like it. It's not better than like the other 6-mana clunky draw spells like Recurring Insight, so I just don't know when I'll ever play it.
Yeah, let's just give it a C-. It's fine. You can put it in your deck, and it won't be a terrible card, but I'm not excited about it.
All right, this is the black category, and the first one's a saga. It's the Cruelty of Gix. I don't know what to think about this card, but I don't think I'm thinking too many good things. It's 3 black for a saga. Chapter 1, you Thoughtseize somebody for a creature or planeswalker. And then Chapter 2 is you Grim Tutor, so you search for a card and lose 3 life. And then Chapter 3 is you reanimate a creature from any graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. And I just think it's so much mana. The Thoughtseize you're going to skip every time. I can't imagine ever doing that, especially since you can only hit creatures or planeswalkers. So you're really looking at 5 mana Grim Tutor plus Rise from the Grave, which is, it's like 8 mana worth of spells. You had to wait 2 turns. You get them both. You could search for like Entomb or something with the card you get.
This card is versatile at least. It's not terrible. It's not a card I'm excited to play by any means, but at least the 3 modes are pretty good. 5 mana Tutor, obviously pretty bad, but at least if it stays around for a turn, you get to reanimate with it. The card is slow. It's very slow, but I think if this thing reliably got all 3 modes every time, it's an okay card.
I think it can't possibly get all 3 modes every time because I'm never even playing it on Chapter 1.
That's fair, but
which does make it less slow.
Well, that is true. You can also, but something about that is you don't have to do it often. But if maybe there's like potential combo, maybe not. I'm not saying a super heavy combo meta, but like there is a potential combo across from you. You can also use it. It is useful some of the time.
You know what I think Eldest Reborn is probably just better than this.
It probably is.
You get a creature each time from each opponent, then you get a card from each opponent, and the last mode is the same.
Yeah, I think it's card's a C-. It's passable. It's probably not a card I'm going to very often, but I think it's passable in Commander.
Yeah, I might even give this like a D.
Okay.
I'm not as high on it. I don't know. I can't see where I'd play this.
That's fair. Next, we have Cult Conscript. 1 black for a 2/1. It enters the battlefield tapped, and you can pay 1 in the black to return to the battlefield and activate this ability only if a non-skeleton creature died under your control this turn. These cards are passable. It's like a better reassembling skeleton for specific decks that can guaranteed make something die.
Yeah, I think we almost passed up on this one. It doesn't have all those things like Bloodsoaked Champion. You can only do it if you attack this turn, so you're really not doing it on your opponent's turns. Some of them you can only bring back once per turn. Some of them come back to your hand. This one you can just bring it out, sack it, bring it out, sack it, bring it out, sack it, as long as the creature died this turn.
Yeah, all you have to do is have a creature die. Just make sure your deck is able to do that reliably, which a lot of decks can. Especially, I think of like playing like Pawn of Ulamog in your deck. You can sacrifice this, get something else that you can sacrifice, and then use that to bring this back. And
Which,
it only costs
which pays for, now we're getting somewhere.
Well, yeah, I mean,
You got Chromatic Orrery out, infinite. Not really.
I mean, it's actually infinite if you have a token doubler, or if you have.
We have Phyrexian Altar, we have
Phyrexian
we have Blood Artist, we have it all.
The best sack I'll
This card is broken.
This card is broken with Phyrexian Altar, which is a fair Magic card.
Okay, yeah. Cult Conscript's actually okay, C+-ish. Let's go to Defiler of Flesh. I got another one. 2 black for a 4/4 menace. This one makes your black spells give Phyrexian for the black pips. And whenever you cast a black permanent spell, target creature you control gets +1/+1 and gains menace until end of turn. I was so bleh on that ability because it's the least flashy of all of them. Not close, and the red one deals 1 damage. But black is really good at casting stupid black pip 1-mana creatures like Gravecrawler we were looking at especially. And if you can go infinite with this card, if you're doing some of the classic Gravecrawler loops, well, this is your payoff. Your creatures get plus infinite and have menace.
Yeah, this card it's got the worst ability for sure on the end. But that doesn't change the fact that it's a B-. That's the worst you can do with these cards, it feels like.
It's ramp plus.
It's ramp plus more, and giving all your creatures menace is not terrible because they become much bigger threats when they have menace. A 3/2, like, and also a pumps all power. So, like, just for Gravecrawler, say we cast a different spell and we have a Gravecrawler on the field. A Gravecrawler that attacks as a 2/3 with menace is much more threatening than a 2/1 without menace.
A 3/2.
Yes.
Yeah,
so,
it's a big deal, especially for combat metas. It's a big deal in comparison to nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it's the worst of these abilities, but it is in a good color to take advantage of the ability.
Yeah, a lot of dummies to cast for a single black or even 1 in a black, which would just be 1 or nothing.
Yeah.
And ways to gain life, like Blood Artist and Dross Harvester are going to make this thing go infinite, whether you want to or not.
Yeah, it definitely will have loops that it's a part of. Next, we have Shadow Rite Priest it's 1 in the black for a 2/2. Other clerics get +1/+1. Pay 3 black, sacrifice another cleric. Search your library for a black creature card, put it onto the battlefield, and shuffle your library.
Shocking text.
This is a really good card. You just have to, again, it's a cleric for your cleric deck that's going to come down, it's going to be a lord, and then later in the game, if you untap with this, all right, I'll sacrifice by any cleric, any stupid cleric, and get Razaketh. I mean, which is the whole idea of it, right? Because the clerics are always the ones summoning the demons. It's really cool. It's flavorful, and it's powerful. B.
You can do it instant speed, too, right?
Yeah.
So it's like
B+.
Surprise, Massacre Worm. Surprise, Yawgmoth. Sack all my creatures to the board wipe. It's like things get real hard to deal with this card, and it's repeatable. So you have to kill this and whatever they go find, or kill this immediately unless they give it haste somehow. You're in trouble when this thing hits the battlefield. I think what I'm really thinking about, because obviously it's a cleric deck, I want to see what decks this could go in that are not cleric tribal. There's probably some if your commander's a cleric.
I'm gonna give this a B+. I said B, but like
I like B+.
I can't get over this card's so good. This might be the best of these. Maybe the Goblin's better.
It's like one of the best clerics.
It's one of the best clerics ever made. It's so good. It's just you just get again 2-mana lord already kind of passable. And then it's like, what? Hold on. What if I said you could tap to win the game for 5 mana?
What if it's a must-kill threat?
Oh, yeah. What if it was a must-kill threat for 2 mana? It's
about as must-kill as a Magic card can get.
Yeah, it's good. It's very good.
All right, you may have been wondering where all the legends were up until this point. We're excluding basically all of them because most of them exist as a commander and not a ton else. And we're doing ranking every commander later this week, so you're going to see them all there. But we left Shield right on this list. 2 black for a 4/5 death touch. Whenever you draw a card, gain 2. Whenever an opponent draws a card, lose 2. They lose 2 because it's kind of also a 99 card, so we wanted to at least touch on it because for the rest of this week, we're only evaluating it as a commander.
Yeah, I think Shield is a solid B. This card's annoying. It's going to get in the way. It's going to drain a ton of life as games play out. It just seems like you're always going to hate this thing. I built it as a commander, theorized as a commander, and I looked at the deck and I realized the problem with this is it's going to be just like Liesa. No one's going to want to play against it because it's going to lock players out of the game.
They won't be able to do anything.
Yeah, it's like, I only have 2 cards in hand. The only thing I can do is draw cards, but it'll make me lose the game.
Right, because I'm at 10. It's like you just can't play.
Yeah, exactly. So Shieldred, I think, is an unfun card. That's a good card. I gave it a B.
Maybe now's the best time to touch on this. I don't think it's even close. This is like To me, this is so much better than Shieldred Whispering One, but people don't seem to agree.
Oh, it's not even remotely close. Yeah, I think Shieldred, the original, is like a D card. That's
Like when this sits around, it's doing a little bit. You're not getting some busted effect. But if you're building around it, yes, you are. In the command zone, it's pretty sweet. But in play, it just kind of sits there. It drains them out little by little. It's one of those cards that might eat removal. It might not. I think it's just overall, especially in the combat, non-combo metas, it'll do some work, which is also the only place where I think Shieldred, the other one, could do work.
Yeah, Shieldred B. Good card. Next, Activated Sleeper. 2 and a black for a flash 0/0. You may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of a creature card in a graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn, except it's a Phyrexian in addition to its other type. So, as a card overall, it's like a D. Maybe even a D-. It doesn't really do much. It's kind of whatever.
It's pretty bad, although it is interesting that it's a unique... I don't think there's any black
It's
clones.
unique and cool.
Yeah.
It has all of that going for it. D-. Now, BZ, why don't you tell them why it's a B in a certain situation?
Because the first card I think of, and really the only card I can think of with this, is Protean Hulk. It makes me, because sometimes, like when you go for the Hulk win, or you're getting more competitive now on you, when you go for the Hulk win, they can still interact with it. But now this lets you sacrifice Hulk, and if they let the trigger resolve, oh, oops, it's second Protean Hulk, Viscera Seer, and Grand Abolisher. You can't interact, and I'll finish my loop without your interaction and just win.
Yeah, to make sure that everyone knows what BZ's talking about, it's Activated Sleeper is the other Hulk.
Yes.
You can't just get another Hulk. So, yeah, you get Activated Sleeper. It's a copy of Hulk. Grand Abolisher, your opponents can't interact anymore. Boom, game over. And a stack outlet so you can do it. Keep going.
Yeah, then you just loop Karma Guide Reveler. That's what I think of. So, like, that's not even really what we're talking about. So it's mostly a D in the context of, like, I don't have combos in my deck. I'm just playing to attack people. It's like, I wouldn't play this card, really. But in the competitive, I wanted to at least mention it.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, what's next, BZ? What do we got?
It's red cards. Chaotic Transformation is 5 and a red for a sorcery. With so many words, it hurts my brain. Exile up to 1 target artifact, creature, enchantment, planeswalker, and or land. For each permanent exile this way, the controller flips till they hit one, then that thing goes in play. Notably, you can target yourself, and you're probably going to target yourself to Chaos Warp a land, or whatever you want to call it. Flip a land, because then that makes this spell basically cost 5, because all the permanents are entering in their natural state, which is probably untapped.
This card is weird. I don't like it very much at all. I gave it a D. Maybe there's something you can do with it. I know that there's polymorph stuff you can do, where if you make token creatures only, you can always pop into your biggest creatures. I don't know. This card doesn't interest me very much, but BZ, what do you think?
It kind of interests me when the fact that it secretly costs 5, and I can target myself with all of them and play very few permanents to know what I'm going to hit, and it's kind of sort of red enchantment removal. You polymorph one of their enchantments. I think it's like a card I really want to see resolve, but I don't want to be the one casting it. I think D's fine.
Yeah, D. It's not a card I'm excited about.
I could see it being good.
Yeah. Next, Defiler of Instinct, 2 red, Phyrexian Kavu, 4/4, first strike. This one reduces red mana cost, and whenever you cast a red permanent, deal 1 damage to any target. I think this is also a pretty weak ability, but you can pick off dorks. If you can cast 2 spells, you can pick off the little bigger things.
Give this Death Touch.
You can give this Death Touch. There is things you can do with this, but again, I can't bring myself to ever put these below a B-. These cards are really, really good.
As far as infinite combos go, this is the best one because you just win. If you can loop anything with this and not lose the game from life payment, you just win.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you do that, but yeah, you're right. You would win like that.
Well, actually, you don't really have to pay the life. If you can find a different way to loop things, like I think Bergie and Grinning Ingus, right? They loop. You just win. Not from paying life, you just cast the red permanent spells.
True, Bergie and Grinningus do loop, I believe. You're right.
Maybe this goes into Bergie decks. Let's go to Elder Dragon War, 2 red for a saga with read ahead. It deals 2 to each opponent and each creature. And it also lets you discard any number of cards, then draw that many cards. And then the final mode is make a 4/4 red dragon. So worst case scenario, you get a 4 mana 4/4. I like the mode that they just keep putting on sagas for some reason is discard cards and then draw cards. It's not like 7 sagas now.
Yeah, this card's fine. It's a 4/4 dragon for 4. At its worst, you can put it in a dragon deck. So it's a passable card. C.
Nothing really to say. I just want to leave it. Didn't want to leave it out. Here it is.
You can also wipe out dorks.
It's a pyroclasm and then it's a dragon. It's really not special.
Yeah, it's not bad, but it's not the greatest. Jaya, Fiery Negotiator, 2 red, legendary creature planeswalker. Jaya enters with 4 loyalty plus to make a 1/1 monk. Minus top 2 cards, you can choose one, then you can play it until the end of your turn. Then your -2 is choose target creature and opponent. I hate this. This is so... Hold on. Let me get my phone close to me because this is so much text I can't read it. Choose target creature and opponent controls. Whenever you attack this turn, Jaya Fiery Negotiator deals damage equal to the number of attacking creatures to that creature. Oh my god. It's so weird. -8, you get an emblem with whenever you cast a red instant sorcery, copy it twice. You may choose new targets for the copy.
Well, that's not happening.
That's
we go to 5 the first turn, and then 6, 7, 8 ultimate. This needs to be in play for 5 turns.
Yeah.
Untouched.
This thing does an ultimate. Yeah, that's very true.
And if it does an ultimate, what does it do?
It doesn't do much. I gave this thing a D-. I just wanted to. I brought it up because people love Planeswalkers, love talking about them. This one is 4 ability Planeswalkers, so it gets even more hype.
Yeah, we'll touch on all the Planeswalkers for these set reviews.
Yeah, we'll usually touch on the Planeswalkers. This one is fine, and it's you're not going to put it in almost any deck. Maybe once in a while, D-.
This feels right on par with every other Planeswalker that doesn't mesh with Commander at D-. Keldon Flame Mage, 2 and a red for a 2/3 enlist. I'm not even going to read a list. I don't care. Figure out what it does. When it attacks, look at the top X cards in your library where X is its power. You may exile an instant or sorcery card with mana value X or less from among those cards. Put the rest on the bottom of your library, and you can cast the spell that you exiled for free. So you want to attack with this, and then enlist, tap a bigger creature to add its power to this card. Then it's going to let you look at more cards to hopefully find a big instant or sorcery to get out. And that just all seems so hard.
Yeah, it's a creature in your spells deck. It's a problem we talk about a lot, and you need to have another creature already on the battlefield.
Yeah, a creature in your spells deck that wants more creatures.
They want you to have more creatures in your spells deck. I gave this thing a D+. I think it has potential to hit stuff. It'll pop off sometimes, but I mostly want to avoid it because, again, creature in my spells deck.
Way more splashy than good.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Next, Rundvelt Horde Master, 1 in the red for a Goblin Warrior. 1/1 other goblins you control get +1/+1, and whenever it or another goblin dies, exile the top card of your library. If it's a goblin creature card, you may cast that card until the end of your next turn. I'm in. This thing gives board wipe resiliency for your goblins.
One of the best goblins ever printed, which is saying something because there's like a million of them.
And on top of that, think about this. We're already sacrificing goblins to our
Goblin Bombardment, Skirk Prospector.
A Skirk Prospector. It's already a card that's being run in every Goblin deck, so you can just do this at will to try and pseudo draw cards. You can even see the top card of your library sometimes to see what it is to maybe exile it to play it later.
And it's board wipe protection.
Yeah, and it's board wipe protection. This card's great. This card is really good. B+. Get in your every Goblin deck you're playing. This is the new Goblin.
Pretty much till the end of time. That's pretty much all the only place it goes. Shivan Devastator, one of the first cards we saw from the set, and it spoiled that Shield Red was in the set. X and red for a flying haste 0/0 that enters with X. 1/1 counters on it, so 5 mana gets you a 4/4 haste. 2 mana gets you a 1/1 haste, which is relevant in things like Lathliss, where you just don't even care what your dragon costs.
Yeah, exactly. This card is it can just cost. It can be a really, really cheap dragon, or it scales in the late game to put all your mana into.
Scales.
It does scales because dragons have scales. Get
Whoa.
it? Yeah, C-. Passable card, reasonable for certain decks, but you want to care about the types, right? If you care about dragons or hydras, I'm in.
Maybe some weird red-green deck that cares about counters. It is a modified creature.
This is this is really similar to. I didn't realize this till right now. This is power creeped. Was it Rock Hydra?
Is it? Because it's just the same thing without flying or haste.
It's the same thing, except now it has flying and haste.
It makes me think of power crept Mistcutter Hydra.
And the counters don't get removed, because before they were head counters that got removed sometimes. Now they don't even get removed. This card is power crept Rock Hydra to the max.
I think it's going to be really good, because it's always a little bit under par, and it'll hit you in the face and it'll just break your back every time. Where it's like, that's not like a Thunderball rate, because usually that's what the rate you get is. And that's like, I'm still dead. Oh, it's late game. It's a 7/7.
Yeah, maybe this card is better than we think. Let's move it up to a C.
Whoa. Risky stuff.
C, it's a pretty good match.
I'm going to hold my ground at C-.
Okay, that's fair. Next, Defiler of Vigor. 3 green for a Phyrexian Worm, 6/6 with trample. Okay, let's start right there.
Colossal Dreadmaw. Move over.
This is a 5 mana for a Colossal Dreadmaw with a ton more text coming. Don't worry.
What is it, 7 lines?
It's because you have the greens. You can reduce 1 green mana from anything and pay Phyrexian in its place. Great. And whenever you cast a green permanent, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. I think that I mentioned we don't give out many A's. This snuck into A range. A-. This card is amazing. What is going on with this Magic card?
What color has the most single green pips in Magic? Not close, especially playable in Commander. It's green. All your mana dorks, all of your Carpet of Flowers, all your 1 mana green enchantments like Utopia Sprawl, and the like. Oh my God, this thing has infinite potential. Counters decks love it even more. This is probably one of the easier ones to loop, especially with Cloudstone Curio.
This is also one of the ones that I'm looking at playing in potentially multiple color decks, because the other ones I'm like, yeah, I want to be a mono white, or I want to be, but it's like This one's like, okay, even if it's triggering off of half the things I cast,
I want the counters on everything.
counters on everything for casting a spell and reducing cost on that spell. This card is incredible. A-. I don't regret it at all giving it an A.
In the running for best card in the set for Commander, I think.
I don't think it's... I looked at them all. I think this just is.
It very well might be, not to spoil our top 10 upcoming video.
Coming up soon.
Leaf Crown Visionary, green for a 1/1. Elves get pumped by +1/+1. Whenever you cast an elf spell, you can pick green. If you do, draw a card. Another one of the better elves that's
What is
ever
going
been printed.
on?
These are all just juiced to infinity, with the only exception is maybe the white one is just eh. But every elf deck forever plays this card because it pumps when you want to attack, and it draws cards, which is half of what elves do.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. They pumped this cycle to the absolute moon. It's amazing. It's 100% cool. Like you said, every elf deck, B+. Amazing card. Next, Landwire Loam Speaker. It's a 1/3 for 1 in the green, and it taps to add a mana of any color, or you can tap it to make a land a 3/3. I'm not super interested in making my lands 3/3s, but it is a mana dork. It's an elf. If you played all the other versions of this card, and now you need to go to your 2-mana ones, this is a decent one.
Where my psychic powers are envisioning this in 6 months is as one of the best budget 2-mana dorks.
Yeah, let's give it a D. It's not super strong, but it's not a weak magic card.
Sounds like a D. Quirion Beastcaller is next. 1 in a green for a 2/2. When you cast a creature spell, it gets a +1/+1 counter. And when it dies, you can distribute those counters on the creatures you control. This is the most like D-ish card that only ever see some play, and it'll be totally okay. And it's nothing special. Couldn't stress that more.
I don't know what this card needed. It's so close. It interests me because I like all the words on this card.
Maybe if it was like a 0/0 that entered with 2 counters, maybe that would be enough.
Yeah, maybe that it would be enough. That would make it a lot better. It's interesting. It's close to something I want to play. Doesn't quite get there. Like I said, D. Yeah. Next, a card that BZ thought cost 7 mana and still thought was pretty good. It is Silverback Elder, and it is 2 green for a 5/7. And whenever you cast a creature spell, choose one. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a land from among them onto the battlefield tapped. Put the rest onto the bottom in a random order, or you gain 4 life. What is this magic card?
Seriously, I can almost promise this cost 7 up until like a week before the set came out, because I'm thinking Cultivator Colossus, Titan of Industry. There's all these nonsense triple pip 7 drops that have 1,000 words on them, and then it just seemed like they were like, let's sell some booster packs, and they just cut 2 mana off this thing and didn't change any words, and it seems pretty sweet.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that this costs 5 mana, yeah, you want to be a heavy green deck, because triple green is a lot of green pips, but if you're reliably casting this thing is strong. Put it in your creature decks. I mean, this puts being able to put removal into a creature slot, and it's just like super ramp on top of that.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's a B+. I think it's definitely more playable than all those other clunky mythics I talked about. And it's BFF's best friends forever with Defiler of Vigor, because you're going to gain 4 life when you pay 2 life. Oh, perfect.
Oh, how could that go wrong ever?
It doesn't.
It doesn't, because this card's amazing. And also ramps you.
It ramps you like non-basic lands.
Non-basic lands. It gets whatever is in your top, which totally works.
Oh, yeah. Threats Undetected is 2 and a white, 2 and a green for a sorcery. It's another play on Gifts Ungiven, because those never get old. Print one every set. Search your library for up to 4 creature cards with different powers and reveal them. An opponent chooses 2 to go into your shuffled into your library, and the rest into your hand. Notably, they don't go in your graveyard like the other ones, so there's no cheating this one as much. You can only search for 2. Yeah, because you can't even just search for 2 cards, because the chosen cards get shuffled into your library. So you have to search for 4. So you're getting the worst 2 out of the 4 every time.
Oh, the fact that these don't go back into your graveyard is what makes it terrible. I think it's a D-. I thought for a while that they went to your graveyard, and I was fine with it. I thought this card was playable. You could do some like little cute combos with it. No, it's a D-. I would avoid it most of the time.
Yeah, this pose also doesn't really work for me out of like a bed or a couch. Looks really weird outside.
It does look weird in a tree.
It's not comfortable, I promise.
It might be. You don't know.
I do.
Next, we have the World Spell, one of the biggest, most powerful spells ever cast in Magic
history of Magic lore.
Yeah, I know. 5 green. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may put a non-saga permanent card from among them into your hand and put the rest in the bottom in a random order. That's 1 and 2, the first 2. Or you can read ahead. And for 7 mana, put 2 creatures from your hand onto the battlefield.
They're permanents, right?
Non-saga permanents. Sorry.
So you can't. They didn't want you chaining world spells, I guess.
Well,
why does it say non-saga?
That actually is a reason, because in maybe a format where you can cheat a world spell. You can go like world spell big creature, world spell big creature.
When you invent a time machine and can take all of the turns in a game of Magic.
Yeah, I mean the card's whatever. I mean,
it's so unexciting for... Here's the 7-mana clunky mythic, I guess. Maybe they switched the mana cost or something, but this one is like... Best case scenario, it's 7 mana for half of Tooth and Nail when you could just play Tooth and Nail.
Yeah, not interested in this card pretty much at all.
Yeah, what is it, like a D?
D, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Don't think of this as a red card because it's really more of a green card because we didn't put it in the wrong spot on the script. It's the Reaver Cleaver, 2 and a red for a legendary artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1, has trample, and whenever it hits, you get that many treasure tokens and equip 3. It also works when you hit planeswalkers, so that's like the most minuscule little upside.
You heard me talk about this card back in the pre-con reviews, and
build your old Gnawbone.
It's build your old Gnawbone. It costs a lot of mana. It only works for this creature. I'm not a big fan of this card. I think it's too slow. I give it a D+. It'll perform when you actually get the hits in, but you got to hit with a 6/6 just to get your mana back.
That you 6 mana investment. Just know that. I guess you really don't have to hit with a 5/5 because it gives +1/+1. But just know that this is a really high variance card. So even when it looks like it's blowing up, you kind of. Things went right for you.
Things have to go very right for this card to do anything, but sometimes they will, and sometimes this card will absolutely explode.
Yeah, maybe those times are worth it.
So next is the Multicolored, which originally on the script we had a Johnny Sleep Agent, but I changed it to Johnny Sleeper Agent.
Is he going to sell you a mattress?
He's a sleep agent. He works in one of those master stores. 1 and a green and a how do you say this?
Phyrexian Celestia hybrid.
Phyrexian Celestia hybrid, sure.
A Frostblade for sure.
And a white for a legendary Johnny. It's got completed, meaning if you pay the 2 life rather than the mana, it comes in with 2 less loyalty, enters with 4 or 2 depending on what you paid, and you plus to reveal the top card of your library if it's a creature or a planeswalker. This is such small text. Oh my god. Give me this. Planeswalker card, put it into your hand. Otherwise, you may put it onto the bottom of your library. -3, distribute 3 +1/+1 counters from among target creatures. They gain vigilance until end of turn. And then you get an emblem with, whenever you cast a creature or planeswalker spell, target opponent gets 2 poison counters. What do you think?
I think they brought Liliana of the Veil back to the standard format. And then we're like, nope, we've used all of our zero-sum planeswalker power equity. The rest of them have to be the most safe designs you've ever seen. Even the ultimate on this, it could have said each opponent, right? They could have at least given us that, but they did not. And it makes me so sad, and this seems not really playable.
Yeah, it's not great. It's a D. I did point out something to BZ that made this card cooler, at least.
Yes, because I was like, why doesn't it seem that Phyrexian only the last ability is? But then I had literally told Joe this at the story. At the very end of the story, Johnny seems normal. He was a sleeper agent the whole time. And at the end, he betrays everybody and kills Jaya. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, spoiler alert.
I mean, also, spoiler alert, Johnny's a Phyrexian? I don't know. That's already as big of a spoiler. They got my boy, a Johnny.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, Johnny's plus and minus are just normal Johnny abilities. You can see this on any Johnny Planeswalker. But it's -6 is where you see, that's a Phyrexian thing.
He was Phyrexian the whole time.
Really cool design card, really bad for Commander.
Yeah, I can't wait for the Phyrexian Gatewatch. They're building up to it. I'm still with the Chibi Walker theory. Yeah, it's happening. Well, Angrath is next.
Angrath and Ashiok and Sorin.
Yeah, in that order.
Sorin would be ridiculous.
Why? Because he's just super strong.
He's like one of the most powerful planeswalkers in the multiverse.
Yeah, and then they're going to have to fight him.
Yep. And he didn't help with Nicol Bolas basically at all because he was too busy fighting the Hiri.
Maybe they'll complete her and then they'll just keep fighting and not be part of the story again. Let's go to another card, shall we? Balmor, Battle Mage Captain, blue-red for a 1/3 flyer. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain trample until end of turn. This, to me, was one of the most notable uncommon legends because it actually seems like they squeezed quite a bit of power into this. It just looks like a juiced-up Adeline. It hits all your creatures, and it gives trample instead.
Yeah, this card seems tough. This kind of deck seems tough to build. You want to play all the token makers, right? Like you want to play your Sharknadoes. You want to play your Talron, so you can get all these extra creatures out.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. I ended up going because I built this deck for $50 budget. I went like wizards, and there's a couple things that are wizards and make tokens, and you don't care what the tokens type are. Yeah. So like once you get the wizard core, then you can just make a bunch of tokens of whatever. Yeah. So there's a lot of ways to go.
This card's like a C+, middle of the road. It needs a large build around, but it can perform in the right deck.
If you get out Harmonic Prodigy or Veyran, then you're like off to the races.
Up next, we have Ellis, the Ill-Core Sadistic Pilgrim. Another Phyrexian, so sad. And it's a black and a white for a 2/2 with Death Touch. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. And whenever another creature under your control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. So we get kind of a variant of like a Zulaport Cutthroat kind of thing, but you gain the life on entry rather than when your creatures die.
It's like Corpse Knight meets Suture Priest. I don't know. But it's legendary, so you can kind of have that effect in your command zone now. Just seems like a solid little C+.
Yeah, C+. I mean, we're not talking about it in the command zone today, yeah. But in I think specifically like a Teysa Karlov deck is where you want to play
just another Zulaport Cutthroat.
Yeah, effect. And it gives you a little life and gives you double up the loss again.
Yeah, this next design, it looks bland, but it's actually really cool.
This card's great.
Urtai Resurrected, 2 blue-black for a 3/2 flash. ETB, choose 1. You either counter a spell, activated ability, or triggered ability, and its controller draws a card, or you destroy a creature or planeswalker, and its controller draws a card. So this thing hits it all. It's countering spells in the stack, or it's countering creatures that already resolved, and it gives away a card, but you get a whole body, and you're getting a straight-up 2-for-1. So then they're kind of getting the 1 back, so it ends up being even, which is pretty solid.
Yeah, I want to use the bodies somehow, right? Like, the spot where I think this card like shines like off a deck off the top of my head is Scarab God, where it's like,
yeah, flickering this is gross.
You can, flickering it also insane, but like you just want to play this. The best thing about it is you get to hold it up, and you're never gonna be stuck with it in your hand. If no spell goes around that you want to counter, you play it. You get the best creature off the battlefield every single time. Then you can start flickering it. And Amanatu deck is gonna go nuts for this card. It's gonna love it.
This has a third mode, as you alluded to, sort of. You play it, and you just sacrifice your own creature to draw a card. You get to draw a card then.
Yeah, in your black decks, we're already playing sack outlets. We can just sometimes kill our own creature to draw a card, kill our terrible thing that we wanted to get rid of anyway.
Yeah, get a creature in play, chump block. I don't know, something. This thing has like 85 ways to use it, and I'm here for it.
Like you said, I think the key to this one is just you want synergy. I gave B for rating.
Yeah, solid tempo card.
Blink is super important for this card. You want to be able to blink it, reuse it, reanimate it on instant speed with like Scarab God, and this card is awesome.
I'm in for it.
Next is Garna, Blood Fist of Kelv. 1 black, red for a 4/3, and whenever another creature you control dies, draw a card if it's attacking. Otherwise, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Okay, so if you build up this huge board and they want to wipe the board, okay, they will take 1 from everything. Or you just throw in attackers. Doesn't matter what they are, 1/1s or anything. They want to block my 1/1? No, they're going to take 2 extra damage just because they don't want me to draw cards.
But if I have a sack outlet, I can deal the damage and then draw the card anyway.
And then you can draw the card anyway. I'm going to put this into my Ishan deck because Ishan has a lot of the cards that say, when this creature attacks, get other little attackers. Amazing. Literally perfect. I'll attack if 4 extra 1/1 attackers.
Those are the ones that get eaten.
They get eaten often. But guess what? They're not going to get eaten when I'm drawing cards off of them. This card is really awesome. I think it's going to be... The trouble is you're going to have a problem finding good decks for it because it doesn't go in a ton of decks.
And it's not a sack outlet itself. So I think it's like a C+.
C+, which is perfect. It's like it's going to struggle to find the right home, but in those homes, it'll be a strong Magic card.
And it is one of the most broken cards in the set with that turn 1 victory I alluded to. All you need is all the best fast mana in the format.
Yeah, is that all you need?
It's just broken.
That's busted.
Primeval Spawn, 5, Wooburg. So it's 10 mana for a 10/10. And no cheats, because if it would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast, or no mana was spent to cast it, you just exile the card instead. And you don't get the Vigilance, Trample, Lifelink 10/10 that when it leaves the battlefield, you exile the top 10 cards of your library and you may cast any number of spells with total mana value 10 or less from among them without paying their mana costs. That's a lot of value. Definitely worth 10 mana. And I feel like it'll settle somewhere around C-.
Yeah, the card is really big, really splashy, really fun.
I really wish it had haste.
At least its abilities are all, like I mentioned before when we talked about this card, again, in the precons, it has a ton of relevant words on it.
Yeah, Lifelink is relevant too.
Like, so if you're playing a 5-color deck, hey, try this card. I think this card's cool and fun if you can get to 10 mana reliably, which 5-color decks tend to be able to do because you have green and green.
Mana fixing is so good, I don't even think about it.
I really like the card. I mean, it's a 5-color card. It's very specific, but I do like it.
Finally, a non-legendary 5-color card that doesn't just say, you have to be doing something very specific, or I have no text.
Yeah, I like the card. Same thing with this one, too. I like this card, too. 2-headed Hellkite, 1 in Wooburg for a 5/5 dragon, flying, menace, and haste, making it super hard to block. And whenever Two-headed Hellkite attacks, draw 2 cards.
There's a haste relevant ability. I think I'd rather have this one.
Yeah, I agree.
With haste.
Yeah, I like this card a lot. I give it a C+. Again, it's niche because of its 5-color nature, meaning not a lot of decks get to play it, but it's cool.
You're going to see it in 5-color decks, and you're going to see it in specifically Dragon all the time, because then it's only 5 mana. And it's like, once it attacks, you're probably not going to see this coming. You know, it attacks, and then they get to draw 2 cards, and you're just like, I have to kill it, and they already drew 2 cards. Ugh. Bad feeling. Bladewing Deathless Tyrant has a very similar effect. It's 5 black-red for a 6/6 legendary, because it has applications of 99. Flying Haste, when it hits a player, for each creature in your graveyard, you get a 2/2 black zombie with Menace. That's an extra little, they just tacked Menace onto those normal tokens. So, surprise, take 6, here's 12 2/2s of Menace. You probably still have to answer Bladewing, because the cards in my graveyard don't go anywhere. I'll get it again next turn.
Yeah, I think this is another one that's fairly specific to what decks you're going to put it in. You need a really large creature count, red-black deck, and then this card can just make an army, and it makes a lot of creatures. If there's 10 in your graveyard, you've produced 20 power of Menace, which is super strong.
And you dealt 6 damage, and you still have a 6/6 flyer.
Yeah, this set, I will admit, when I looked at this before doing this review and writing the script, I was underwhelmed. When we're talking about these cards, there's a lot of cool cards to put in decks.
They didn't break Commander. It's just everything is just like rock solid. It's like, oh, it's really cool.
So many Cs. Like I said, you can print a set of all Cs and it'll be a good Commander
I'll be
set.
real happy.
It'll be a good Commander set because if everything's a C, guess what? That means everything has homes and decks. Next, we have a card I just wanted to mention. I don't think it's super good, but it's cool. It's Golden Argosy, 4 mana for a 3/6 legendary artifact vehicle. It has crew 1, and whenever it attacks, exile each creature that crewed it this turn. Return them to the battlefield tapped under their owner's control at the beginning of the next end step.
What is the flavor? What is it? Capsize and then turn around? Like, where are they going?
I don't know the flavor. What I like about this card is I like it kind of in a flicker deck. If you can put everything in this. Because crew 1 means any number of creatures can do this. Attack with it. All your stuff is exiled and comes back at your end step, and you get all your ETBs again. But on top of that, another mode of it is you do that same exact thing, attack, and then you board wipe. My boat's dead. I don't care. The board's gone, and all my creatures are coming back with ETBs on end step.
It's kind of funny. It dies to your board wipes, but it won't die to their board wipes because it's not a creature on their turn.
Yeah, it's true. And this card is it's fine. I don't think it's like broken or busted, but I'd like to give it a try. I give it a D-, but I think when this card performs, it will play much better than a D-. But I don't think it'll perform that often.
It's a neat design that we haven't seen yet.
Really cool design. I love it.
A nice play on this Fate's Reward type thing.
I'm super high in this card, but it's not like broken at all.
Next is the focal point of the story of Dominaria United. It's Karn Silex, 3 mana for a legendary artifact. Enters tapped, which is a bummer. Players can't pay life to cast spells or activate abilities that aren't mana abilities, which does mean no fetching your fetch lands. And you can pay X, tap, and exile it to destroy each non-land permanent with mana value X or less. Activate only as a sorcery. Another bummer.
The card just is filled with bummers, right? Just bummer after bummer after bummer. It's not really
Oblivion Stone. This is not.
That's very true. This is a D. It's fine. It's a board wipe in a colorless deck, but I want to play Oblivion Stone. I want to play what is it? The Volt before I play
Perilous Vault.
Perilous Vault. I'm playing both those first.
Maybe even Nevernral's Disc.
Yeah, those are cards I'm going to play before. Because even the Silex, like, if you're paying 3 mana, how much can you really do this for?
It just depends. How relevant do you think the paying life little mini stacks piece is going to be? How relevant is that?
What is a Silex?
A Silex, I think, is just like some kind of bowl that holds something.
How does the bowl going to kill the Phyrexians?
It blows up.
It's an exploding bowl?
Yeah.
Okay.
That
sounds reasonable. You know,
Karn,
when you say it like that.
Karn's bringing his exploding bowl.
That just sounds like you're going to get high.
Yeah, it does.
Next, Relic of Legends. 3 mana for an artifact. It taps for any color, but you can tap an untapped legendary creature you control to make a mana. This card's reasonable. It's middle of the road. Not a lot of decks want it, but if you're in some Legends Matter deck, I'm in for it because they'll turn your Legends into mana works.
I think so. Probably really good with like Ryu. I'm just throwing out random crap because he untaps, and then you can tap him and untap him over and over. It's a cool way to, like, if you want your commander to be tapped, like Imara Tandris II or the guy King Midas, whatever his name is, King Makar. They kind of like, oh, I can tap my commander without having to do anything, and I get a little bit of a bonus. There is that, and then if you're in all Legends, this is great. So this card seems like it has quite a few homes, and I like C.
Yeah, C. Just very middle of the road. Good card.
Speaking of middle of the road, but in a bad way. Timeless Lotus, 5 mana ETBs tapped, and it taps for Wooburg. Ton of mana. Can only play it in Wooburg decks. And it's a little slow. It's a big mana surge. It feels like Nyx Lotus, which nobody really played.
Yeah, it feels. That's a great point. It's very similar to Nyx Lotus, but this can only go in 5-color decks.
And I'm not buying into the hype this time. I don't know how this could possibly play out any differently than Nyx Lotus.
Yeah, entering tapped is just so sad. That's the downside. If this card enters untapped, okay, sure, it only goes in 5-color decks, but we get our mana back right away. So
I think it probably shouldn't like that. I wouldn't really enjoy that card either, but for different reasons. It would obviously be great though.
That's fair. Yeah, so this is C-. It's passable.
I might give this a D+. I feel like it's definitely worse than Relic of Legends.
Sure, that's fair. I mean, Relic of Legends guys C-. That makes sense.
I'm gonna go lower and give it a D+.
Sure. Next, we have Weatherlight completed. Boom, boom, boom. Spoiler alert. 2 mana for a 5/5 legendary artifact vehicle. This is the first vehicle ever that can't be crewed.
I think so.
There's no way to crew it.
No, I think there is actually a vehicle that
you have to tap 2 creatures for.
Yeah, it doesn't have crew. It's like Dermotaxi, right?
No, you're right. Dermotaxi, and also the one we have to put exactly 2 creatures in it from it deals combat damage. You draw 2 cards.
I think that has crew 4.
Oh, does it?
And it still has that. So yeah, I think Dermotaxi doesn't have crew though.
Okay, well, but this is one of the few without crew.
This is the second vehicle without crew.
And it has flying, and as long as it has 4 or more Phyresis counters on it, it's a Phyrexian creature in addition to its other types. And whenever a creature you control dies, put a Phyresis counter on it. Then if there's 7, you draw a card, and if there's not 7, you scry 1.
This is such a weird card. I don't really know how good it is, but I think my gut says it's not very good. So you have to have 7 creatures to die. How likely are you to have 7 creatures to die? When this turns into a creature midway, will it get removed? Will you be able to kill that many creatures that quickly? I don't know. Is it really good if you just sack a creature, draw a card? Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's weird because it's sack. Whenever you sack a creature, you're going to scry, and it's going to eventually turn into the draw a card. It's not a creature that starts, so it's not a creature for your creature deck. It's such a weird Magic card.
So weird.
It's a D+. I'd like to try it. It's interesting, and it definitely could be good, but I don't know.
I'll start at D+, but I think there's a world where a year from now I'm like, this card's a B+, but who knows?
Sure.
Gerard's Hourglass Pendant, 1 mana for a legendary artifact with flash. If a player would begin an extra turn, they skip it instead. But actually, you can pay 4 and tap and exile this thing. To return to the battlefield, tapped all artifact, creatures, enchantments, and lands and put into your graveyard from the battlefield this turn.
Yeah, and like we mentioned before, you don't really care about this outside of meta call for the extra turns. It's if you're meta calling
it's flavor text or a meta call.
Flavor text or meta call, and then it's just, but also it's flavor text most of the time, but sometimes the blow. Like 1% of the time, this card's gonna be like absolute. It's gonna feel so good. Someone's gonna cast.
It's the Croson Grip effect. 1% of the time, it's great.
Easy. Just how good is this gonna feel?
Okay.
Expropriate. Mm-hmm. Everybody chooses extra turn. Doesn't matter. This is pendant on the battlefield. Oh, it feels so good.
Yeah, that's because you choose on resolution. That's brutal.
Oh, it'd be so good. It would be such a good feeling.
It would be, but mostly don't ever look at that text and just play it for Fate's Reward on an artifact.
Yeah, which is awesome for your artifact decks because it Fate's Rewards your artifacts back to the battlefield. Like I said, I mentioned Oscar is the deck where I think of right away, where you could sack all your artifacts, make a bunch of mana with Karn, like bring them all back with this, and then do some other crazy stuff. This card's good. This card is definitely good. C+.
C+, maybe B-. Maybe
B-. It is a very good Magic card. Next, we have Obsidian Obelisk, which is a 2 mana, enters tapped, makes a colorless, or for your multicolored spells, it makes any color mana.
And if you're reading our script, it's Obsidian Obelsisk.
Obelsisk. Is it like Ovaltine?
It could be.
I didn't know.
It seems all right. I don't know. This is another charcoal diamond effect that's like, oh, but for your legends, it actually color fixes you.
Multicolored.
For your multicolors, it rainbows you.
Yeah, it's fine. It's totally passable. C. I think the diamonds are also C's. They're so passable. I think we probably we graded them D's in the past, but I give them C's now. They're fine. They're totally fine.
Okay. Sometimes they still feel better than a Manolith.
Yeah.
Next, we got the new common cycle of dual lands with types. They just enter tapped. Idyllic Beachfront is just a tapped blue-white dual, but it's a Plains island. So if you're on a budget, mainly is where we look at these, you can go find a Plains with Knight of the White Orchid. You can discard it to foil. Like there's just a bunch of relevant corner cases that probably end up in your deck that these play into that we actually do like playing them, even though they're just a tap land, which we normally avoid.
Budget, give them a D. Like you said, they're very nice when you need something, like you say, Croson Verge, Knight of the White Orchid, Ranger's Path, Sky Shroud Claim, all of these cards, Nature's Lore,
Foil, Valakut, we could just go on forever.
Yeah, exactly. It's just they matter. The types end up mattering a lot. There's a ton of cards that care. So when you can't afford the really good ones like Shocklands or Dual Lands, these are right there for you. They're going to be a nice 20 cents.
I might give the the allied ones a D, and I might give the enemy ones a D+, because we don't have enemy duels. So you might actually want this as literally, it'll be the second duel you reasonably have access to. It's like, I could play Godless Shrine, and can't afford Scrubland, so then maybe you want to play the black-white one.
Or the snow one, too.
Yeah, or the snow one, which is the same card.
Yeah, exactly. Next, Plaza of Heroes. This is a land. It taps for a colorless. You can add a mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast a legendary spell, so you can always use that in your commander. Tap, add 1 mana of any color among legendary permanents you control. Pay 3, exile it. Target legendary creature gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. I want to play this and test it.
It's so confusing. Everyone's saying it's a staple. I don't see it.
Maybe
it's good.
I think it's definitely good.
It seems good.
I think it's undeniably good and goes in a lot of decks. I think that part is true.
It feels like if my commander is 4 or less, I'm pretty interested, because it's command tower if your commander's in play, and it can kind of get you. But can it get you? You can't really get you to your commander though. That's the problem, right?
You can use it to cast your commander. Yeah.
Okay, so it gets you to your commander, and then afterwards it's sort of like a command tower, but it doesn't fix you at all for anything other than your commander without your commander in play.
Yeah, or other legends in your deck. So this card is fine. I want to test it. I'm giving it a C+, but I am going to caveat it with it could be much better or much worse than I think. It's just about testing it and getting this in my deck, because I think this card, it could be the other include staple a lot of people think it is. The fact is, it does have versatility, and being able to make your your commander indestructible is relevant. It is there.
I don't know that last ability.
I mean, it doesn't. Well, the thing of it is if this is just going to be a land that isn't going to hinder you at all.
Well, yeah, that's just I don't think it's as good as everyone thinks it is, though. It's just when are you taking the time off to hold this up? It's not like you can just sack the land. It's kind of tough to hold. It's 4 mana, really.
It's probably when you're and
then it's you have. Obviously, you might have literally nothing better to do, and I think that's real, but that's less likely than...
Yeah, it's a utility slot. I think, especially, it's a utility slot that you get, especially if this is not going to hinder you. Like you said, if your commander is cheap and it's going to be out early game, this is going to just be a rainbow land then.
And if you're monocolor, I really don't feel bad about it, really at all.
Yeah, no, this is great in monocolor decks. Easy put in my monocolor deck.
We'll start at C+.
C+, and this card could be much better. It is also possible for it to be worse.
All right, Thran Portal. This is the most medium land ever printed with 2, 4, 6, 8 lines of text. It enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or fewer other lands. As it enters the battlefield, choose a basic land type. It is the basic land type you chose. Mana abilities of it cost 1 life to activate, so it doesn't actually tap for mana, but you make it a swamp, and then it taps for black, which costs you a life. So complicated, so weird, but beneath all that crap is a gate typing, so it gets a D basically just for that.
Yeah, it's a D. It's whatever. It can be any color you want. It's also a gate. It's such a weird magic card. It's also a type, if that matters for your deck. So
let's move on.
It could, yeah. Let's move on to the very last card here, and it's an artifact. It's Tiller Engine, 2 mana, 1/3. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, choose one, untap that land. Tap target non-land permanent an opponent controls. Those are your choices.
Okay. I mean, a fetch land is kind of interesting because you can fetch for a tap shock and then stop up attacker, which is really weird. And you can just randomly do with this, or mostly it's hey, my bounce lands are going to enter untapped, and my slower gate-based, perhaps, mana base is now functional.
Yeah. I don't care about this.
Great for gates.
Put in your gate deck. If you're playing the Maze's End deck, Tiller Engine, yeah. Otherwise, I don't care about it.
Looks like a D+. And if you want higher grades than D+, maybe an A+ series is our set review series. So maybe go check out the most recent set review we did and love it forever until we come out with our next video.
Because you will. Peace out, Tribe Scouts.